and I request Gurudev to start. Give our views.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. I didn't expect to be like the first one to start it off. I think most of you might have heard enough of me yesterday since I was commenting, and I think skills had been deliberated a lot yesterday as well, because everybody obviously feels that this is important. When we talk about service, automatically skills come into mind. And I wanted to show a little something that I forgot to give it to them, so since no one else is presenting, I'm just going to go ahead and speak. With regards to the Northeast, 10 years ago, well, I came back in 2003 from America, and when I came back, I saw that there were many, many young people who were educated, talented, but kind of loitering around because they just didn't have an outlet to do anything or didn't quite know what to do besides the inherent get a government public job, working in the public sector. This is all they had. Everybody thought going and applying for your NPSC courses or your UPSC courses was the ultimate. Not being absorbed because somehow they didn't fit into it. They had this vision that parents would go to work at 9, 10 in the morning, and then after a few hours of pushing papers would come back, and that was the vision that young people had. And there were lots of talent which were hidden but not used. And as I went around looking at all these, meeting these young people, I thought there must be more opportunities than this. After coming back from a country where enterprise was pushed so much, I was just thinking, I wish there was something that we could do. And a chance of opportunity let me, I'm an interior designer by profession, so going around working with the village people and some juvenile delinquents and some self-help groups, and then teaching them quality control and just giving them ideas on how to interpret traditional crafts and all that, it led me to meet more and more young people who wanted to do something. And I had to say, as much as notorious as Dr. Vijay Mallya has been, I have to thank him for giving me the first opportunity to actually venture into skill development. And he asked us to send a group of people to him. We did, and he was shocked that I relate this to many people, but this is what he said. As I was sitting there in his house, and he was interviewing the group of girls who had come, he said, he looked at one of the resumes and said, you worked as a waitress before, and this is a very educated, well-spoken girl. And then she said, yes. And he said, how much do you earn? And she said, 1,500. And then he goes, 1,500 per day? And he's going through her resume, and then she says, no. Then he goes, per week? She goes, no. Then he looks up and says, per month? And then she says, yes. Then he turns around and looks at me. She's kidding, yes? I said, no. Then he said, you get tips? She said, no. Then how do you survive? That's just pocket money. I work for pocket money to pay for my phone bills because they live at home. Parents are still looking after them because they have not got into what you call contributing economies yet. And so he said, you mean to say, in a part of my country, there are people who are so educated, so well-versed, well-spoken, and earning only this much, looking for jobs? And then he said, that's when our romance with Kingfisher had started, where we were the recruiters for Kingfisher Airlines for all the people from the Northeast. And when we started that, CEOs who had seen our girls working asked him, where did these girls come from? And then they got in touch. Well, one CEO got in touch with me who recommended me for another CEO, and that's how our history with skill development started. Along the way, we'll notice that we can't just focus on the educated people. What about those who had to drop out? What about those who, for whatever reasons, could not finish? And then we started our romance with the Marriott Group started, and we became the providers for associates for pre-opening hotels and follow-ups. And that's when we found the perfect skill system, where we got a fantastic client who was willing to teach them from ground up. They didn't have to have any education. They didn't care about the degree. They didn't care about the degree. They cared about the attitude of the people, and they cared that they have the right passion to learn. And that's when we've had a wonderful journey going with them. With aviation, we've had a wonderful journey. Then we started into entrepreneurial training for small groups. And we've always noticed that when people come with a passion, which I'm sure many of you are doing it, notice as well, there's quality in the training, it sustains. When there's hand-holding, this is the one thing that is so required, hand-holding. Because like it or not, people in the Northeast are very different from the rest of the country. And this, until unless the rest of the country understand this, because culturally, we are very different. Each state in the Northeast is also different. And I think that is where the major gap is, not understanding that what works in another part of the country might not work. But India being the way it is, what works in the north might not work in the south as well. And I think for those who are in the skill development ministry, have to really focus on this, on understanding the psyche. For us, we handhold by explaining. If they're going to Bangalore, we speak to the management and explain to them what our culture is. We leave open doors for them to get in touch with us. There are problems, we resolve it. We handhold for a year, and by that time they've become street smart, they've learned how to adjust with the community, and then when they want to move on, if there is no growth in that company, they get in touch with us saying, we would like to move on higher up. There's no way for getting promotions. Is there anywhere else we can go? Then we get in touch with some of our other clients as well and say, there's some people who are experienced, and we asked the company, these young boys and girls have got in touch with us saying that they want to move on. Is there room for them to grow in your own company? Otherwise, we're going to move them somewhere else. And that's what happens. And our boys and girls have been poached so much. The minute they reach the married, our training plus the married training has made them the most, I think, attractive to headhunters, and they have been going around the world. There are some people who have started with salaries of 10,000, 15,000, and are currently, a few of them are earning in lakhs per month. I mean, a lot more than what I would ever earn in India. But this is because they've managed to grow and go up the ladder, and then also see that the horizon is a lot bigger than just being confined to one space, and they've moved around the world. We're very fortunate that people have believed in what we do, local people and a few people, especially this year we have connected with the government bodies to hopefully do something more, but this is the way it is. But right now, when people talk about skills, a lot of people think skills and they think personality development alone, or they think only hospitality or aviation. Skills, we need to make young people in schools understand that skills starts right from there. They need to understand what kind of personalities they have, what kind of ambitions they have, and how can they turn these ambitions into passions for the rest of their life. Making them understand that there's a difference between a job and a career. And I think in India we need to start introducing preliminary jobs, meaning little jobs that's going to make a young person decide whether this is something that they want to do forever or not. If they're not, so I think in some way internships are very important. If companies can do paid internships, nothing like it, but this is where we would like to pressure the government to understand, to pressure the industry to make, accommodate internships and mentoring. I don't know how this can be done. Maybe on a private level, this is where we come in. But for us, we do mentoring, we do internships, and this has worked for us. We would like to reach out to more people. But in the Northeast, I don't know about the other states, but definitely in my state, we are so poor where cash is concerned. So for private players like us, who have to have people pay to run our organizations, it becomes a challenge. So we want the government or any other agencies to actually, under your CSR policies if possible, to start skilling people, maybe in your industry as well. Help us find you the right people. That's what I want to say. And I think just having their training paid for is extremely important. For us, that's all we're looking for. If someone is paying for the training for somebody from the village, we have the platform to train them and place them. Getting the right companies is important. If you want attrition rates to go down, the industry has to come up and match the salaries as well, because if you're going to take them out from the Northeast and take them elsewhere, they need to be compensated enough, otherwise they might as well stay and work in the Northeast. We would also like to emphasize that industries where the young people can come back and contribute back in their own hometowns is what we should be looking at as well, because once they go out, work for 4-5 years, and then, especially let's say in the BPO industry, if they're working at night for 5-6 years and just answering phone calls, and they get tired of it, when they come back, where does it lead them to? Nowhere. We do encourage people to go and work in the BPO sector, but but we want them to know that there are only a few people who will go up the ladder and that the majority of them are just stuck there. So if you have talents, improve whatever skills you can from whatever job you have and then move on to the next one. This connection between these kind of industries is also required. We need people to grow up the ladder. We want people to stop thinking, the industry to stop thinking that Northeast people are only for low-level menial jobs. No. There are lots of talented people who can go up the ladder, and that is what they need to focus. If you want to insist that people from the Northeast go into the spa industry, provide security for them. Because many institutes are training them and placing them in hole-in-the-wall places, little places where they're earning nothing, cramped up in places. We've done a lot of survey and we've found that this is a big problem, and they are predatory jobs. People who are working in the spa is definitely a predatory job. Many big hotels have rules set in where employees cannot fraternize with the guests. But it's not so. You don't have control with the lower end hotels or the smaller spa centers, and that's the reason why a lot of problems are coming up. With regards to people who are being preyed on in the cities, you will find a lot of cases of molestations, and all of these things are happening because they are getting very low salaries and have to go live in chawls. They have to go live in very bad accommodations just so that they can keep up the lifestyle in the cities. Now that is a bigger problem again. So for entry level, if there are government programs that are happening, we request that there be places where they can stay for at least a year to acclimatize and get to know the cities before they are moved out. This is something for us. We insist that everybody who hires our boys and girls give them accommodations if they're working in the hotel industry, because the salary is still a little lower than the aviation industry. Aviation industry, anyway, they all start living in clusters. They give them good apartments and all, to start off with, so we don't have a problem with that. But it's with these other industries. Now coming back to technical skills, we need lots and lots of people interested in science as well. And this has to be initiated in the schools. Some creative ways of initiating science studies in the school. When we say studying about computers and all, not just the basic diploma courses, but something a little more in-depth. Finding out, like in Nagaland, there are so many young people who are creative in drawings and all that. How can they translate that into earning? This is something maybe into graphic designing or animation. But now we need the industry to come back. It's not enough to get people to be trained when they cannot use that training anywhere else. So we need industries to come back. At this time, in this time of the world, at this time, we have to make sure that these young people are accommodated so that they use their talents, that they are able to venture out and show that the Northeast has a lot more to offer than just working in the spa industry or the hotel industry or the aviation industry. There's a lot more to the Northeast than just that.